Therwan Sarnai Swamin Wahanse, I respectfully invite you to start this Dhammadesana or the Dhammasakacha on Sathipatthana.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Therwan Saranai, everyone. Today also we have gathered here to have a Dhamma discussion on basically the practice of Arya pathway. So during the last few sessions we have understood what is Nibbana, why we need to achieve it, and what is the problem with this world, the reality of the world, anicca dukkha anatta. And today our main aim is to understand the key pathway, key practice that is needed to fulfill this Arya pathway, and that is called Chattaro Satipatthano. And before starting that, let us remind ourselves the importance of this moment, the rareness of this moment, because of the consequences that we have, because of the things that or meritorious power that we have generated during the sansaric journey by doing meritorious deeds towards Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. We have got this great opportunity to listen to rare Arya Dhamma. So, in this rare occasion, may all the meritorious power agglomerate together, creating the perfect environment for us to understand the Supreme Dhamma, ultimately completing our Arya pathway. Accept this blessing with the sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And also, before starting the main topic, let us acknowledge our faults during our sansaric journey. We may have done various immoral acts, unwholesome deeds towards Buddha Dhamma Sangha, as well as towards any other living being. So, before the understanding of what is right and what is wrong, we did not have any clue what we should do and what we should not do. So, out of raga, dvesha, moha, out of greed, out of hatred, we must have done various unethical, immoral deeds towards the sentient beings of the world. Let us, when it comes to the forgiveness of Supreme Dhamma, it is always about acknowledging our faults and determining ourselves that we are not going to do those kinds of things again. So today, let us acknowledge our faults in front of Supreme Buddhas, and let us determine ourselves, promise ourselves that we are not going to do these kinds of unethical, immoral, unwholesome acts again. With that determination, recite sadhukara, accepting this.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So today our topic is Sathipatthana. Sathipatthana has 4 main wings, 4 main areas. Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, and Dhammanupassana. Before starting the pathway, let us quickly recap on the importance of understanding Dhamma and main concepts of Dhamma. So, we have understood that this world has three main characteristics: anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Because the world or the worldly beings perceive this world as nicca, sukha, atta, subha, which is the opposite of the reality, we always get disappointed in the end, ends up in suffering, ends up in pain, despair. So, in this journey of living beings to achieve blissfulness, they engage in various kinds of activities. They think that they think about a promised land, or a heaven, or a place where there are no sufferings. They try to avoid all the pain and suffering related to this world. And in the process, they sometimes find temporary solutions. But in the long run, if you see, if you observe, it is just like putting a patch and temporarily solving the problem. But when it comes to Arya Dhamma, we know, we get to the understanding, because it develops wisdom. Through wisdom, we understand that this is not the case. We understand the anicca, dukkha, and anatta nature of the world. After understanding that nature, one's main goal in life changes, and the goal becomes attaining Nibbana. So that is called Samma Jiva. My lifestyle is not to do anything else but to attain Nibbana and to create the perfect environment to do that. Is Samma Jiva. So once a person achieves this much, this initial phase, or we can say opening of the eye of Dhamma, when someone has opened their eyes, when someone has understood the reality of the world, now his sole purpose of living is to, or the main purpose we can say, is of living in this world is to complete the rest of the pathway. And today, the Sathipatthana focuses on the completion of the pathway, or the things that we have to follow. Because if it is a pathway, we have to have a journey. Because road or a pathway has a starting point and an ending point. So if we are in the starting point, to get to the ending point, we have to have a method. When it comes to a pathway, it is walking. We have to use our legs one after another and use that mechanism to get to the other end of the road. Just like that, the walking of this Arya pathway is Satipatthana. And there are four types, four areas in Satipatthana, as we described before. And based on the person's differentiation of indriya or organs, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, there are 5 organs. And these organs create or make one person from the another unique. Because when it comes to these organ systems, these are organs that are activated at the understanding of Supreme Dhamma in the initial phase. When the wisdom is being bloomed, these dormant indriya systems, Shraddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, are also being opened. Since when it comes to an individual basis, people have this, or individuals have this indriya in different strengths. One might have the Shraddha indriya, and a strong Shraddha indriya, but a less strong Virya indriya. Likewise, there are differentiations when it comes to the strongness of indriya. Based on this concept, the individuals vary from one another when it comes to the strengths of indriya. So the comprehension of Dhamma and style they are going to practice throughout their pathway also changes based on the changes of Indriya Dhamma. So that's why there are 4 aspects. Some prefer Kayanupassana, and they focuses on Kayanupassana mainly. But some would like Vedananupassana, some would like Chittanupassana, and some would like Dhammanupassana, and it would be their main practice. But if one practices Kayanupassana, that means he also practices the rest of the other 3 as well, because these are connected. One, if you are practicing one, then you are practicing the other one as well. It is like the 4 sides of the same apple. If you are looking at an apple from the right side and from the left side and from the other sides, it's the same apple, but the view is different. It is something like that when it comes to the Sathipatthana, or the 4 wings of Sathipatthana. And the Sathipatthana practice is to get rid of Abhija and Domanassa. In the Pali Canon, it says, Kaye Kayanupassi Viharati, Atapi Sampajano, Satima Vinaya Loke, Abhija Domanassa. Vedanasu Vedananupassi Viharati, Satima Vinaya Loke, Abhija Domanassa. Chitte Chittanupassi Viharati, Atapi Sampajano, Satima Vinaya Loke, Abhija Domanassa. Dhamme Dhammanupassi Viharati, Atapi Sampajano, Satima Vinaya Loke, Abhija Domanassa. So all the 4 parts of Satipatthana focuses on elimination of Abhija and Domanassa. Abhija is the strong attachment causing a person to have corrupted response towards the attached or attached thing or attached person. We can simply say it as greed, and jealousy is also a result of this corrupted or strong attachment leading to corrupted responses. For example, a person who is having this abhijja, or this strong, greedy, mischievous qualities, would have the idea that I should own everything and others should not. If others would own something that you don't have, your mind straight away develops jealousy, and you'd like the destruction of those things that the other one owns. And at the destruction, you would feel happy, you would feel delighted. When you own something the other person does not have, it is not the fact that you own that thing makes or creates happiness inside you, but the fact that the other person does not own that thing is the one that makes happiness, creates happiness inside you. So that is the strong attachment leading to corrupted mindsets. And this is a very negative negative thinking. This is a part where a person, this is an area where a person would have corrupted and negative responses, and it falls under sins as well, the 10 immoral actions. And the other one is hatred, domanassa, hate, anger, and crying, because these are responses because of disappointment, occurs because of disappointment. So we can say dosa also falls under this category. Dosa starts with uddacha. Uddacha is the conflicting mindset. And this conflicting mindset, when it becomes stronger, it becomes anger. Anger becomes, when it becomes stronger, it becomes hate. Hate becomes it leads to vengeance and other extreme levels of anger. So these all fall under domanassa. And so we know that now that this Sathipatthana is to get rid of Abhaya and domanassa. So we have discussed the Arya pathway initially before, and in that we discussed about the eightfold pathway. And in the eightfold pathway, we have discussed there are Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, and Samma Samadhi. And here we discuss the Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama, and Samma Sati works together at all times. And the focus is towards the Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, and Samma Ajiva. Samma Sankappa is about the mental or the thoughts. Samma Vacha is about the words, use of words, and Samma Kammanta is about the use of actions. And Samma Ajiva is about the lifestyle. And here, the Samma Sankappa aspect of Sathipatthana, the eightfold pathway, is mainly discussed here along with Sati, Ditti or Samma Ditti, and Samma Vaya. Because when it comes to Samma Vacha and Samma Kammata, that is Sila. So someone should have the discipline in these two aspects, Samma Vacha and Samma Kammata, in order to practice Sathipatthana. Otherwise, you would not be able to have a peaceful mindset to practice Sathipatthana. Of course, there's this thing, the mind is prime organ that also controls the actions and words. But when it comes to, if you go through to a hierarchy, initially, Sila. Sila is about the words and actions. Sila means the virtuousness. Virtuousness does not cover the aspect of thoughts, but the actions and words. So when someone's actions are disciplined and words are disciplined, that is the initial part of Arya journey. So the next part is the disciplining of the mind. For that, you need to practice Satipatthana in whichever the way. There are various methods when it comes to Satipatthana, and depending on your Indriya levels, organ or the strengths of these organs, you can decide. for yourself by experimenting on different methods, which methods suit you the most. And you can apply that method to your practice and complete the or follow the Arya pathway. So when the sila is there, the samadhi is the next method or the next thing you would encounter. Sila, sasana leads to samadhi, or the plan of sila. It's a plan you have to execute, disciplining your mind or disciplining your body and actions. That's a plan. And that plan would lead to the next plan, which is the samadhi. And that would lead to the rest or the last result, which is prajna or the wisdom. So it's again a cause and effect thing. If the causes are being aligned, then the effect would occur. And that effect itself becomes the causes for the next effect. And this is a cascade of effects, causes and effects leading to the final result. So what we do is we are manipulating the initial part, so the final result is being created. So here, when it comes to these four aspects of Sathipatthana, we'll go through the first one and we'll see how our thinking process should be changed in order to see the world in a different perspective, where the raga, dvesha, and moha would be eliminated or would not occur again. So, kayanupassana, kaya. Kaya means accumulation of things. The simple meaning of kaya is the accumulation of things. So, when it comes to the world, everything, physical or non-physical, non-physical in the sense we are talking about the mind, thoughts, can say Vedana, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana. All are non-physical, but there are also things that are there in the world. So if something is there in this world, that is accumulation of things. For example, it is easier if we get a physical object and try to understand what is meant by an accumulation. So if we get a chair, this chair is accumulation of things. Accumulation of we can separate it into different, or we can have this discussion on different levels. We can have this discussion on atomic level. So we can say it is a accumulation of atoms. We can say it is accumulation of plant cells, dead plant cells, because if the chair is made of wood, then that means there were cells before. We can say it is accumulation of different parts of the chair. There's the armrest, there's the backrest, there's the four legs, and there's the part where we sit on. So there are several different parts that have been accumulated together, and that accumulation is called the chair. When it comes to a human or a person, it's the same. It's accumulation of different things. We can have the discussion again on the cellular level. We can have the discussion on the atomic level and also organ level. It is accumulation of heart, lungs, then eyes, and there are different organs, and when all the organs are aligned in the right pattern, we get a human or a person. When it comes to the mind, it also works in the same fashion. when it comes to the Abhidharma, it says about Chitta and Chaitasika. So Chitta means the mind that occurs as a result of um, a stimulus. So when a mind is, is occurring, so this mind, when it comes to the mind, it is not a constant thing. It is actually a chain of it's a thing where the mind occurs, and when the because of causes, and when the causes die, the mind also dies at that point. And since this process of accumulation of causes happens throughout our life, we see a delusional constant mind, but it is actually a thing which occurs and dies and occurs and dies. So it is something like a, we can say, a bulb, or let's say a fluorescent bulb, which is connected to a 50 hertz uh, alternative electricity. In reality, the bulb flashes 50 times in a minute or in a second. It flashes 50 times, but we cannot see that. We see a constantly lighted up bulb. Just like that, this mind has a um, frequency of about 100,000 million hertz. So this flick rate is very high. So we cannot see it, but in reality, the mind is something that occurs and ends up dying in a very small fraction of time. So when a mind is created, it is also a accumulation of things, accumulation of chitta and chaitasika. So that is how mind becomes a kaya. So that's why in chittanupassana also we can use kaya anupassana. In some, you would understand what is meant by that later. So here, now we are focusing on kaya anupassana. So why kaya anupassana is important? Because raga, when it comes to raga, attachment is based on value. If we see something valuable, then we attach. The attachment occurs. So we are in the basic concept of kaya anupassana is to divide this object which we find attractive or valuable to a level where the value is normal or the attachment is normal. For example, let's say we like a person, and what we are going to do is we are going to divide this person into different parts. If we are going to do it in the organ level, we would remove the eyes, not literally, but in our mind we would do that. We would remove the eyes, we would remove the skin, we would remove the organs, different organs that creates the body, and we would see what is the valuable part, and we are going to isolate the valuable part in the body, because we find the value when we see it as a whole, as one. So if it really has some value, we would be able to isolate the part which has the value. But if you do that, you would understand there's no value when it comes to the organs. There's no value to the lung. You would never want to buy a lung of a person or the heart of a person. or the eyes of a person. But when it comes to the whole set, you find it valuable. So it is a illusion of all the things being kept together to form one big unit. And the thing is, you get attached to this one big unit. So comes raga, dvesa, and moha. So here in our practice, we know that there's no value, and we know that this world is anicca dukkha anatta, because it is the initial part. You cannot follow this part if you have not understood the initial part, where someone would become enlightened, the first step of enlightenment, Sotapanna. So at that level, one would understand that in the viewpoint of one would change. One knows that there's no value, but he sees it when something is, when he encounters something. For example, he knows that there's no value to these food items. When no value means that the blissfulness that I feel is because of hunger. If there's no hunger in my system, I would not find this food item tasty or delicious or valuable, anything. So he knows, when it comes to the level of concepts, he knows that there's no value here, or there's no there's nothing to attach on, because it is my own deficiency that creates this delusion. But this concept is forgotten almost always in the initial phase, and you get these signals, or corrupted signals, corrupted um, based on the corrupted signals or corrupted data, you jump into corrupted conclusions. And this is what slows down the pathway. And this method of seeing the world and dividing it, and seeing it as seeing the illusion which is created by seeing the things as a one big unit, helps us to get rid of this problem. So we are trying to see where the big the value is. So let's say somebody says, so I'll give an example here. We get a bowl full of sand, or a vase, or a vase full of sand, and inside that vase we put a very valuable piece of gold. And we say we say this person that this vase um, values this much. Let's say $10,000. This vase values $10,000, and this person asks, this clay vase, are you saying me that this um, values this much? And the person says yes. And what you should do then? The person who is who cannot believe that this vase values this much, he has to see the inside of the vessel, or inside of the vase. And what he does is he removes the sand from the vase, and he's now, what he's doing is he's actually performing this kaya anupassana. He's literally removing the parts and trying to find the part which actually values. And in the end, he finds the valuable part, which is the gold, piece of gold. And now he understands why this clay vase was so valuable. Likewise, the same principle, when we are going to apply it for our body, we see our body for another person whatever it is, when we find value in something, we are going to separate the valuable part. But the strange thing is, we would not be able to do that. In fact, we would find that there's nothing valuable here. For example, let's say we are going to separate this bicycle. So the bicycle is valuable, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 rupees. But if we separate or deassemble it, now we get the mud guard, then there's these tires, wheels, cogwheels, the chain, pedals, and we are separating it from, we are dismantling it to its to the core. Now we get all the parts. Now, while we are dismantling it, we are seeing whether there's this valuable part which values this much, the value of the bicycle. So we would not be able to find anything. We would not want to have the cogwheels. We know that it is not that valuable. And cogwheel also can be divided into its smaller parts. Smaller pieces of metal created the cogwheel. Now, if you divide it back to smaller pieces, then you'd never want to have that. But when it is kept together, again reassembled back to its normal bicycle, then that value is there, or a bicycle is there. So bicycle, there was no bicycle before. When when it is about the parts, but when the parts are being kept together in the correct places, you see a bicycle. But when you dismantle the bicycle again, you don't see a bicycle. So bicycle is a illusion of parts that are kept in perfect places. Our body, the person, or myself, or other ones, whoever the animal it is, or the being it is a illusion of things that are being kept in the correct places. If we go to a anatomy class or a dissection class and dissect the person, and if all the organ systems are kept on a table, and you would not be able to recognize this person. But there's nothing else you have to have for the recognition. You just need to put all the pieces of the puzzle uh, in the correct places. Then you would recognize the person. So the recognition of this person is actually because of the things are kept in the correct places. So it's an illusion. So this is what you are practicing when it comes to Kaya Anupassana. So there's another way where we are focusing on Apo Tejo Vayu Patavi. So our body is a combination of Apo, Tejo, Vayu and Patavi. So the simple meaning of Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Patavi is earth, then water, then fire and air. These are the four elements that are there in our body. So if we focus on the detailed explanation, Apo is the energy or the attaching nature. It's a nature of the world or the things in the world. So Patavi is the hardness, and Vayu is the ability to ability to expand and contract, and ability to bend. So we can say elastic ability or something like that. And the last one is the tejo, which is the energy. So when it comes to these four natures or four properties, when it comes to the Patavi, property of Patavi, it is seen more in solid things. So the earth. When it comes to the property of Apo, it is the sticky nature, attaching nature, is in liquids. So we say water. When it comes to the energy, it is seen in fire most of the time, and most part of it is energy. So we refer it to as fire. And when it comes to Vayu, it is seen in air, contracting, expanding nature. So that is why we focus on now. We are going to focus on water, air, earth, and fire. So these four elements. We are going. So if we divide ourselves into these four elements, how our body was created, we are going to see how our body was created. So it's all started in the mother's womb, and we were there as a zygote, and we were multiplying as a ball of cells. And the Apo, Tejo, Vayo, and Patavi, which is there in that ball of cells, came from the nutrients of which was taken by the mother, which in fact came from the outside world, from animal foods or plant-based foods. Again, if you go to the source of that is the earth or the nature, environment. So when the child is born, or when the infant is born, it takes food from the outside world and it grows, and here we are as one big unit. So if we go back to the source, we all came from the Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Patavi, which was taken from the environment. So we can divide this body back into Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and Patavi for the four elements. And we are going to see what is the valuable part, or what can be said as me or mine, because it actually belongs to the environment. Patavi. Patavi belongs to the environment, or this Patavi. Now, a fraction of that Patavi, which belongs to the environment, is we see that in our body. And when we die, that fraction of Patavi would again get rejoined with the environment. So it does not say, if let's say it's the person's name is John. So before it coming to the John's body, it doesn't say it's John's Patavi. And when it rejoins back into the environment at his death, after his death, it does not say John's Patavi. So we take this when it is in our body, or when it is in John's body, we say it is John's property. So that is the delusion. It comes to the all four elements. You see a value when it comes when you think that you owns it, but in reality it is not something you can own. It is a part of the environment, and you are only a illusional self that is being created because of accumulation of things. It is not only applies, it does not only applies to you, but applies to everything. Applies to this chair, because chair is also a illusion, that because of all the parts coming together. So we are not going to see this is world is an illusion and become oh, it is for a purpose. We are doing this for a purpose. That is to reduce the value that is given to this world, because the value is in reality is a problem, because it creates suffering. So the basis of this vision, or basis of this kind of seeing, we practice, we are going to reduce the value that is given to the world. So that is Kaya Anupassana. There are different methods that you can do it. There's this Dhatu Manasikara, there's this Navasivatika, and there's other forms of it, Sampajana Pabba, Anapana Pabba, then Iriyapata Pabba, and there's this Dvatin Sakara meditation, and these various kind of meditation types are based on different people's indriya levels. So you can decide on what you are going to practice based on a simple experiment. So the basis is this: you divide and you see whether there's a valuable thing that you can get attached to. But you see that there's nothing valuable. But it is a illusion that creates the value. So again, this is for physical and non-physical things that are being created. So it applies to everything then. So Vedana is also accumulation of things. What is the reason or the result? What is the causes that creates Vedana? It is touch. Touch is the reason for Vedana. When the touch, when touch happens, a fraction of touch creates a fraction of Vedana. So we are not getting attached. Again, this is to reduce the value. So we are going to see how the attachment occurs. So attachment does not occur to a fraction of Vedana. It occurs to a combination of Vedana, or we have to feel this Vedana for a specific time period, at least for few seconds, at least for 2 or 3 seconds, in order to get value to that. If there's only a very fraction of Vedana for a fraction of touch, there would not be any value attached to it. So we see now these fractions, accumulation of these fractions, a combination of these fractions actually creates value. Again, an illusion. If someone's head is stroked with a hand, so that person feels good because the head is being stroked. How did that happen? Fraction of touch created fraction of Vedana, feeling. That fraction is not blissful, but when all the fractions of touch creating fractions of Vedana are taken as one, then you feel a blissful sensation. So that is an illusion. Again, the same concept. So the mind is also like that. A fraction of mind is a fraction of because it happened or because of accumulation of causes. At that point, we discussed how the mind is created. It is a, though we see it as one big unit, it is also accumulation of minds, small fractions. If we become happy or about something, it is because the mind is being created. Because if we are dead, we don't feel anything. So when we are hearing something, when we are seeing something, when we are feeling something, it is the mind that is being created. Fractions of mind. But if you take again one fraction, it does not say anything. It is just it cannot be comprehended. But when all the minds are kept together to create this consciousness, now you develop value to that. So you understand how this kaya anupasana can be used to anything and reduce the value. When the value is reduced, you see the reality. That is how the rest of the pathway to elimination of abhijja and domanassa is practiced. This is kaya anupassana. When it comes to practical aspect, when you are practicing it in day-to-day life, when you see, let's say, when you see a food item that you like, let's say you see a piece of cake. Now what is there? Now what do you get attached? You get attached to the softness, you get attached to the taste, you get attached to the smell, and now you have to divide it and see if the when they are when they are there as a accumulation, you get attached, but you are going to separate them. You get the smell and you are separating it into different parts and see whether there's actually something to get attached to when it is separated. So smell particles, this smell is actually created because of the things that were added to the cake and because it is baked. So you know the particles that gives rise to this smell, and they are different. If you separate them, you would understand that these are different particles coming together, giving the smell of the cake. If you get these items and smell them differently or smell them separately, you would not feel that. The taste is also the same. You put salt, you put sugar, you put other eggs, and you put flour and everything. And if you eat them separately, you would not feel that. You would not have that attachment to that taste. But when they are added in the perfect way, in the perfect amounts, ratios, and when they are baked, then you get attached to that feeling or attached to that taste. if you see a music or a song, this song is accumulation of things. You get the drum beat, then you add the violin part, then you add the organ part, then we add the other instruments, then we add the vocals. Then the song is very beautiful. But if you separate the things, and if you hear the violin part, just the violin part, no attachment. You can again divide the violin part into different violin, the strokes, even less attachment. If you listen, just hear into the vocals, you would see now this is actually my attachment to this song is actually happening because of all the things coming together in the perfect places. But if you divide it, you cannot find the valuable item. It is hidden in the masterpiece. So it is the name masterpiece for a song is actually because of our ignorance, not understanding the reality. So that's why you are never you could not become satisfied listening to a song. It was just temporary. A song was being released, you listen to it and you get attached because you get this mental deficiency when you are hearing it. And this mental deficiency, which you develop after hearing it once, cannot be treated unless you listen to it again and again. But after some time, when you are so familiar with the song, that deficiency, though your deficiency to listen to songs are there, deficiency to listen to that specific song starts to reduce because you already know the song, you know every part, you know uh, every part of the song, and you remember it. So when you are listening, you know the whole song. So there's nothing hidden there. If something is hidden, and the exploration of that hidden thing is what creates the happiness. Since you have listened to the song so many times, now there's nothing hidden in that song. So the deficiency is already gone because if something is already in you, you don't have to take it from the outside. So the deficiency is treated already. So that song, you don't find that song that beautiful after listening to it for 100 times. Now you don't like it. But the liking for songs did not get eliminated. So you shift to the next song. Now, this way of thinking eliminates the likeness that you get for all the songs because you are seeing that every song is like this. It's an accumulation of different sounds. What is there to get attached to? I am just going after a mirage, looking for water. There's no water in the mirage. This is just a waste of time and waste of energy. So this is what you would understand with Kaya Anupassana. And you would stop after one song. You would not go for another song because you know it's the same principle. So that is Kaya Anupassana. Now these are practical aspects of applying Kaya Anupassana. Now when it comes to Vedana Anupassana, Vedana means there are three types. One is blissful Vedana, and the other one is suffering Vedana, and the other one is neutral Vedana. And this also can be divided into two parts, Samisa and Niramisa. Samisa Vedana are Vedana that are felt by association of this world, things, association with the things in this world. Images, when you are seeing images, you either get blissful Vedana or suffering Vedana or neutral Vedana. When you are listening to sound, again it's the same. When you are feeling smell, taste, and touch, it's the same thing. There are three types. It can be either blissful, it can be either suffering or neutral. The other thing is, you get the Vedana when it comes to the practice of Arya pathway, Nibbana. When you are practicing the pathway, when you get detached, when you eliminate the attachments, you feel a different kind of a Vedana where you do not get associated with something. In fact, this is the elimination of the attachment leading to a feeling of non-attachment, giving to a feeling of relaxation. And this relaxation, peace, independence, this kind of feelings giving rise to Vedana. We call them Niramisa Sukha, Niramisa blissfulness. When you get detached from, when you get released from a responsibility, when you end something and you feel very relaxed, when you end what you call an exam, you finish the exam, you don't care what the results are. You are so happy that the exam is finished. Now there you don't get that happiness through seeing, through hearing, through smell, taste, or touch. But it is the relaxation or reduction of suffering that led to the blissfulness. This is a normal example, but this is the shape of Niramisa Sukha. So when it comes to the Arya pathway, you see, when you get detached from the worldly things, when you reduce the attachment, you feel so relaxed, you feel so happy, and that happiness is blissfulness. And again, you get Niramisa Dukkha. Niramisa Dukkha is, you get this feeling, when am I going to finish this pathway? Now that is also not related to association, but this is also a suffering this is a type of a suffering that is there in when practicing the Arya pathway, non-attached pathway to non-attachment. These are feelings that are not generated through attachment, but non-attachment. Again, neutral feeling can be there. That is called upekha. Again, in the Niramisa path. So, Vedananupasana, you are seeing the Sukha Vedana as dukkha through wisdom. Of course, through wisdom, because if you go through Vedana itself, the feeling itself, feeling is of three types. Feeling, when the touch happens, what you get is feeling, what you physically or what you feel through physical touch or smell or taste or sight or, or sound is actually feeling. Now, this feeling has three types, as we discussed: blissfulness, blissful feelings, suffering feelings, and neutral feelings. But what we are doing here in Vedana and Upassana is we are seeing these feelings through wisdom. So when you are seeing these feelings through wisdom, the blissful feeling is seen as suffering. How? because blissfulness is actually a combination of two sufferings. One is you have to have the deficiency in you. The second one is you have to treat that deficiency. So treating the deficiency is suffering. The deficiency itself is suffering. So when these two things happen together, the deficiency and the treating, you get the delusional blissfulness. So the bliss, that is when it comes to feeling, that is blissful, but when it comes to wisdom, the way that you achieve that blissfulness is not blissful but suffering. So the thing itself is suffering. For example, if you have a rash, when you scratch this rash, you feel blissful, you feel happy. But if the person does not have a rash, if the leg of a normal person without a rash is being scratched, you would not like that. You would not feel that happy feeling, blissful feeling. In fact, you would feel that it is a burden, and you would feel the burden of the act as well. That means the suffering related to the action, because that's why we are not scratching right now. If that the action itself is blissful, we would be scratching and we would not be stopping, whatever the reason, because it's blissful. But we don't do it when it comes to a normal person's leg. We do not scratch a normal person's leg. Now, when there's a rash in that person's leg, now the story is different, because now there's a deficiency. Now the need for scratching is there. That is suffering. That's why you cannot stay without scratching. You have to scratch. Now the scratching, the pain or the suffering related to the scratching is also not felt, because instead, when you scratch, what you feel is blissfulness. So here, samisa sukha is seen as suffering, dukkha, and samisa dukkha is felt as uh, what you call a pin or something that is sharp, because it is always dukkha. It is sharp when you uh, when you pinched with the sharp thing, it is suffering. The suffering thing is always suffering. It does not change. And when it comes to the neutral feeling, you see it as anicca. It cannot be controlled according to our expectation. It is a cause. This moment of neutral Vedana is actually a result of causes, not because it cannot be controlled because of our, oh, it cannot be controlled on based on our expectation. Since that's the case, you are not getting attached to that as well, to the neutral feeling, because if you get attached, and since that is not cannot be controlled, it can change. What happens when something changes and when you are attached to it? The thing you are attached changes, leading to suffering again. So you do not get attached to the neutral as well, seeing that it is anicca, no, no control over it according to the expectation. So that is how you see the Vedana. You see the Vedana is something you cannot control according to the expectation, but because it is actually a result of touch, touch has the control of Vedana. If it is a good touch, blissful Vedana, bad touch, suffering Vedana, neutral touch, neutral Vedana. It does not change based on our expectation. We liking to have a blissful Vedana does not create a blissful Vedana. It is the touch. However much we like, let's say we like to have this delicious tea, but the person has forgotten to put sugar. Instead of sugar, he has put salt to the tea. Now, when we are having the tea, our expectation is to have blissful Vedana, but the touch is different. Touch comes from the ingredients that are being put to the tea, and instead of sugar, they have put salt. Now the Vedana is based on touch. Now you get a different Vedana which you don't like, but the expectation was to have a delicious tea, but you get different result. You get a different result. That is how you understand that your expectation does not decide what you get, but the touch decides what you get as a feeling, whether it's blissful, neutral, or suffering. So now you know that if that is the case, you cannot get attached to either suffering Vedanas, or anyway, you would not get attached to suffering Vedanas, but to neutral or blissful Vedanas, because if you get attached, since it is not according to the control of yourself, when it changes, it creates the suffering. So this is something you have to do with your brains or with your wisdom. Otherwise, you would not be able to understand the basis behind why this is practiced. This is the aim of practicing this method is to get rid of suffering. Our goal in this life is to get the suffering to the minimum, to zero at the end when we attain Nibbana. So this practice is towards that pathway, towards the end. So Vedana, now there's this, we have discussed the Samisa Vedana, but there's this Niramisa Vedana. Now in practice, you have to you are allowed to feel the Niramisa Vedana, especially the Sukha Vedana and Dukkha Vedana. Because when it comes to Niramisa Sukha, it is coming from the non-attachment. When you get detached from something, you feel so relaxed, and it is okay to feel that relaxation. And that is what an Arya would do. Arya person is happy and blissful, always happy and blissful. And that blissfulness does not come with fear. Because when it comes to Samisa Sukha, Samisa blissfulness, it is associated with fear. You are afraid whether you would lose the blissfulness. Because let's say you buy this valuable or very expensive vehicle, car. Now you are having the Samisa blissfulness, but you are afraid whether you would lose it, someone would steal it, whether the car would meet an accident. You have to insure. You have to put some insurance, or you have to repair it. You have to do all sorts of things when it comes to maintaining this blissfulness. But when it comes to the Niramisa Sukha, since the Sukha comes from detachment, or non-attachment, the person does not feel fearful, frightened about losing the happiness, because he has already got rid of it, and getting rid of things has created this blissfulness. It is a very good and a very peaceful, calm kind of a blissfulness, and that is okay to have that blissfulness. And the suffering, it is the Niramisa suffering, the feeling that I have still could not able to fulfill this pathway, fulfill my end result, which is Nibbana. It is also suffering, but that is also a good suffering, not a bad one. Because when you have that suffering feeling, you would be forced to follow the Arya pathway, and you would be able to attain to Nibbana sooner. So that is also good. Then there's this Niramisa Upekha, and which comes with uh, Nibbana. Niramisa Upekha, you are not attached to the Niramisa Upekha, and you are seeing this is called Upeksha, Tara Upeksha. So this Upekha is what an Arihat would get when he attains Nibbana, or at the Arihathood. So when you are focusing on Vedana, you have to see what Vedana you are having right now. Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, or Adukkama, Asukha Vedana, or we call that neutral Vedana. And you have to see whether it is coming from association or it is coming from non-attachment. If it is coming from non-attachment, then that Vedana is a very good thing to have. You can feel that Vedana. But if it is coming from association with things, then you have to find the reality. You have to see the blissful Vedana as suffering Vedana through wisdom. So then the attachment would go away. You have to see the suffering Vedana as a sharp pin or sharp object, which always when the touch from a sharp object comes, the pain, you feel the pain, and you know that you will not get attached. When it comes to neutral Vedana, you have to see that as anicca, so that you would not get attached, because it is dangerous to get attached to something of anicca nature, because you don't have any control or based on your expectation. So that is how Vedananupassana is being practiced. When it comes to Chittanupassana, you are focused on Chitta, mind. No, this mind, this Arya pathway and this concept of Nibbana is actually a game played in the mind. So it is the mind that is responsible for raga, dvesha, and moha, and avidya, and everything. So if we look at the mind with mindfulness, what mind is doing, what thoughts are created, can be raga thoughts, dvesha thoughts, moha thoughts, and it can be vitaragi thoughts, vitadosi and vitamohi thoughts. That's the opposite of raga, dvesha, moha. It can be a thought where there is the conflicting mindset has occurred. So based on different thoughts, you have to find which thoughts increase the raga dvesa moha and which thoughts reduces the raga dosa moha. So if some thoughts reduces raga dvesa moha, you associate, you develop them. When thoughts increases the raga dvesa moha, you eliminate them. When you do that, that helps the Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana. So Chitta is seen as when you get, let's say you are going to a restaurant and you are ordering your favorite food. Now the thoughts get the thoughts that develop in your mind are of raga. Now that you know that is not what you want to develop. So you would be mindful, and you would either see those as anicca dukkha anatta. So you have to see the reality, and you have to get rid of that thoughts. The sati or the mindfulness, since you are looking at the mind, how the mind works, it uh, triggers your Arya pathway or Arya practice. You are out of your mind, or you are out of your mindfulness, and you are just going to that restaurant without thinking about the practice Arya pathway, and you just sat down, and the food is now being delivered. But as soon as since you are looking at your mind, and you saw that this is a raga thought that comes to your mind, as soon as that comes, this Arya pathway or Arya practice is triggered by the Chittanupassana. Now you go back to your practice, and you think, or you do the vidarshana, or you are trying to develop the wisdom at that point. You are seeing that this food is just to fill, or just to get rid of the hunger that I have in my system, and not to get attached, because the attachment is a problem and it leads to suffering, and all the points, Dhamma points, are being discussed in your mind. So that point, that 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 environment was created by Chittanupassana. If it is a Vitaragi thought, that means if it is about the when you are going in a bus, or when you are going in a vehicle, traveling in a vehicle, you get this feeling that this world is anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Or this food item that I had yesterday is actually does not have any blissfulness in it, but it was my deficiency that created the blissfulness. And you are thinking in a Arya pattern. Now since you are looking at the mind, since you are mindful of what the mind is doing, you are now detecting it. Now I am thinking about vitaragi things, nekkhamma things that would eliminate the raga. Now, as soon as you detect it, you facilitate that kind of movement in your mind. So so you think more and more towards that side. So you are mindful of what your mind is doing. That is Chittanupasana. This is the simple concept. So what is there when it comes to Dhammanupasana? Dhamma is actually Buddha Dhamma. There are various kinds of Dhamma. Deva Dhamma, which creates a god. Brahma Dhamma, which creates a Brahma. Manusya Dhamma, which creates a human. And there's this Buddha Dhamma, which finally, as a result of Buddha Dhamma, we get Nibbana. So all the Dhamma which creates this world are eliminated when it comes to Buddha Dhamma. So that is Buddha Dhamma. So in Buddha Dhamma, there are various concepts. Concept of Panchupadanaskandha, which we have discussed already. Concept of 5 aggregates. And there's this concept of Panchanivarna. And there's the concept of Dhatu, or Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jivha, Kaya, which is eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And there's images, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and thoughts. These are 12 components, and these classifications are actually um, given in the Buddha Dhamma, the 5 aggregates classification, where 5 aggregates are being discussed. Classification where the world is described as the Paticcasamuppada. And there's this classification, the word is described as Dhatu. There are 12 organs are being discussed. So these classifications, if you have these classifications in your mind, whichever suits you, whichever is more comfortable with you. You see the world in that using that uh, lens or using those glasses. Let's say if you wear a glass with blue paint on it, you see the world as blue. If you wear pair of glasses with a green paint on the glass, you see the world as green. So if you wear this glass where you see the world as five aggregates, then you see the world as five aggregates. And with with that you have to see with anicca dukkha anatta. So you turn these glasses on where you see with anicca dukkha anatta. In the model which you would be using is the five aggregate model. So using the five aggregate model, you are seeing the world as anicca dukkha anatta. That is dhammanupassana. If the Paticsamuppada method is more comfortable with you, you wear those pair of glasses and see the world as Paticsamuppada, how the world is created through Paticsamuppada and everything. Now, when you use that, you would not develop any raga dvesa moha, because you are very mindful of seeing the world as the Buddha Dhamma is portraying. So that is Dhammanupassana. There are various ways of doing this. So based on one's ability, one's indriya level, strengths in their indriyas, they would prefer one of the four. And based on the one, they would have the other three as well. So if somebody likes Kaya Anupassana, he would have this Kaya Anupassana method and he would practice that. It does not say he would not practice the other three. It changes from time to time and occasion to occasion. In some points, he would use the Chitta Anupassana. At some point, he would use the Dhamma Anupassana. At some point, he would use the Vedana Anupassana at some point. But majority, predominantly, he would use the Kaya Anupassana because it is what he prefers, because it is what works for him or her. So that is how how we would be practicing this Satara Satipatthana or Chattaro Satipatthana, four types of Satipatthana. So at the end, when you do that, what the result would be the elimination of Abhijja and Domanassa. When Abhijja and Domanassa are eliminated, the result of that would be a person who has eliminated all the raga, dosa, and moha. Because the person with developed satipatthana would be an anagami person. When you complete the satipatthana, that is the completion of the pathway. So from a sotapanna to an arihat can complete the pathway just by following this satipatthana. It says if you practice this satipatthana with great effort, without any loopholes, for 7 days to 7 years, between those time period, one would definitely either become anagami or an arihat. If someone do it correctly for 7 days to 7 years, in between in between that time period, the one would complete the pathway. But you have to do it correctly and without any loopholes. So that is the Dhamma we discussed today. And through this, I hope you understand the concept of Satipatthana and why Satipatthana is practiced in this way. This is not just to not to corrupt our way of thinking, but to see the things in the eyes of reality. Because since we are not doing that, the suffering has become a part of our lives, because we have get into conclusions with the illusions that we perceive through this through the world that is created by avidya. So this accumulation of things creates the illusion. Based on the illusion, we get into conclusions, and these conclusions almost always end up in suffering. The things that we do based on these conclusions. That's why we need the kaya anupassana. That's why we need the vedana anupassana, chitta anupassana, and dhamma anupassana, to reverse that effect and to see that this is an illusion, and the conclusions we decide or we take based on these illusions are not going to do good things on the long run. So it is just some temporary, and these temporary things we would have to stick on to that process and maintain these temporary blissfulness in order to be happy, and that itself is suffering. So the main aim or goal is to reduce the suffering, reduce abhijja, reduce domanassa, and finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. I hope you understand what is being discussed today. If you have any questions about today's discussion, uh, the forum is open and you can ask any question.
Please unmute your mics, and if you have questions, please forward your questions to Venerable Dhammadasitero. Thank you. Seems like there are no questions from the audience, and I have a question. So, Sathipatthana, or four foundations of mindfulness. Can this be practiced by someone who has not entered the path, or at least what I mean is a person who has not become Sotapanna or beyond that? Can someone practice that without first understanding and comprehending the Four Noble Truths?
Yeah, that's the problem. When this is the pathway. So this is when it comes to Arya path, it is called the path to Nibbana is called the eightfold pathway. So it is called a pathway. So the thing with the pathway is you have to know the path. So let's get a normal example here, or an analogy. So if somebody says that you have to follow this path to go to Colombo or wherever the place, and if you don't know the path, you don't know where to go. You would be just walking in a pathway you choose. Let's say we are in Galle and we want to go to Colombo. Now there's this Colombo road which goes from Galle to Colombo. So we don't know where the Galle Colombo road is. We are in Kandy. We are in different place. Now somebody says you have to follow the Galle Colombo road to go to Colombo. Now, since we do not know where the Galle Colombo road is, we just go to the road and we just walk. Now, would we get the benefit or the end result of the person or the end result that is expected to have if we follow the Galle Colombo road? No, we would not, because we are not following that road. So we have to initially know, identify or understand where we have to go and how we are doing it. That is the part, that is the initial understanding where one one would receive when he attains Sotapanna. So Sotapanna Phala is about the vision. what we are going to do, why we are going to do it. That is the vision. So only if one has this vision, samma ditti, one would be able to do the rest. Then only he knows where to go and why we are going, and the direction where the nibbana is. So we can go in towards that direction. So it is something like there's a small child, a child who cannot walk, 6 months old. He can sit but cannot walk. So let's say this child has a very good intelligence level, or intelligence level of a 20-year-old. So we teach that child, you have to go to that uh, winning pole, or the end of the road. You have to walk to the end of the road to win this race. But the child cannot walk. He knows that he has to go there, and he knows the pathway. Let's say he is in a hallway, end of the hallway, and he has to go to the other side of the hallway to win, this small child. But he does not know how to walk. He knows how to go to the, he knows where to go, and he knows the pathway to go, because he has, somebody shows him, this is where you should go. That is like a person who has attained Sotapanna. He would eventually develop the ability to walk anyway when he reaches 1 year, when he reaches 1.5 years old. But what we are doing with Sathipatthana is we are training him early on to walk. Now, the child or infant who cannot walk is being trained with Sathipatthana, and what we are doing is we are helping him to walk. Now, when he learns how to walk, now he can do it on his own. But if we teach somebody to walk without showing the initial part, the child does not know where to go, child does not know um, when to end. He has no goal. But we teach him to walk. So he would walk all the around the premises without knowing where to go. So initially you have to know where to go, and then only you can practice the Satipatthana. Otherwise you would not get the real idea of why we are doing it. You just, actually this is what we have been practicing all along during these times where the Dhamma was hidden. They were just practicing the Iriyapata meditation, and that was a meditation uh, where people were practicing, when they eat, they have this mindset, eating, eating, eating. When they are going, they having this mindset where they are very mindful of the walking, and they are thinking, I am walking, I am walking, I am walking. And when they are doing something else, they just repeat that in their minds. They repeat, or they are being mindful of what they are doing, and they do not know why they are doing it. They do not know the purpose. They do not know how they can attain nibbana through practicing this kind of a method, but they are blindly doing it because they don't have the initial part. So you should have the initial understanding, otherwise you would not be able to complete the pathway as expected, because you don't know where you are going, you don't know when to stop, or the end point. That is the uh, idea. So it is very important to have the part, initial um, part of the course, or the understanding, comprehension of Dhamma before starting on Satara Satipatthana.
Are there any questions from the audience? If you have any questions, please uh, forward your questions to the Tero. So I guess there are no questions. And I think I can relate to what you just said about practicing what you call Iriyapatha meditations or practices without any understanding, because I have been there. I have done those uh, walking meditations where we lift one leg and then put it there. But I didn't know. We just participated in, but I had no idea why I'm doing it, what I'm doing it, how I'm going to get rid of raga dosha moha. But we did it because this was what we were told, until
Yes.
we found this the right path and started understanding the meaning of what we are doing, why what we are supposed to be doing. Uh,
Yes.
Many merits to you. And since we do not have any questions, and I respectfully invite you to conclude this Dhamma discussion with the merit transfer. Sadhu, sadhu.
So today we have discussed the Arya pathway, the rest of the pathway from Sotapanna to Arihat, we discussed how to practice Sattaru Satipatthana, or the four pillars of Satipatthana, which is a very easy and a very organized pathway towards Nibbana. And with that, by listening to this Arya Dhamma, we have collected immeasurable amounts of merits, because we have been listening to Arya Dhamma, which is a very rare thing to happen in the world. And we are seeing Supreme Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha through this discussion, through Dhamma. And because we have been doing this for about 2 hours now, the amount of merits that we have been collected, we are going to transfer those merits to all the sentient beings in the world, including all the deceased relations and people who helped us and who were harmed by us, and everyone. So before doing that, it is very important that we have our mind in our primary goal, which is to attain Nibbana. And it is very important to have the correct environment, correct surrounding, the peaceful, calm, and quiet surrounding for that to happen. So, the meritorious power which we have gathered today, with the meritorious power which we have gathered today, may everyone get the perfect background and environment to practice the Supreme Dhamma without any hindrances, eliminating all the hindrances, barriers to the Arya pathway, ultimately attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana with ease, and accept this blessing with the sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And also, we are going to transfer these merits to all the sentient beings in the universe, including all the people who helped us, especially our deceased relations during this samsara, in including this lifetime, and also the people who helped us, people who or parents who helped us come to this world. When we were in the spirit world, we had no access to this world, but our father and mother were the great ones who helped us come to this world. And it has happened throughout this samsara. And let us remind all the parents we had through this samsara, the parents who helped us, treated us, cared for us by doing all the things for us when we cannot do, when we were unable to do, when we were small, and when we were when we had no ability to stand on our own. And let us remind all the people who helped during those processes as well, and also the people or teachers who taught us what is right and what is wrong, and helped us become normal good citizens who are not a burden to this world, and also people who helped us by giving jobs, and people who helped us in various ways uh, when we were in the wrong, um, when we were helpless, and the people who constructed our homes and workplaces and everything, and also all the people who helped to have this Dhamma discussion, especially the people who created, constructed these places, and who are paying and for the infrastructure and paying and doing the maintenance, and who are responsible for this development of these platforms, Zoom platforms, and communication and everything. So let us remind all of them as well, and also the people who are hurted, the sentient beings who are hurted by us without the understanding of Arya Dhamma. We were relying on the 10 immoral actions to do our work, to achieve our goals, and because of that we might have hurted and harmed various individuals, and let us remind them as well, and we let us acknowledge our faults initially and determine that we are not going to do those kinds of wrong things again. And with that determination, let us also transfer these meritorious deeds to them as well, and also the people or the deities in the six realms of gods, and also six planes, 20 planes of Brahma, and also the all the sentient beings in the universe as well. Let us transfer these merits to them with delighted mindsets. May they be happy about these meritorious deeds, these Dhamma discussions. May they, if they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sins, may they replace those sins with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy lives, ultimately understanding the reality of the world, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. And with that thought in mind, transfer this meritorious power to them with metta and kindness, with sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And I'll be reciting Pali Gatha to bless you all, and ending up the discussion. Abhivadana Siddhis Nichang Vadda Vichayano Chattaro Dhamma Vaddanti Ayuvanno Sukham Balang Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Meva Jato Nibbana Sampatti Minate Samichyatu. May all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Silavantang gunavantang punyakirtang anuttarang dullabhena mayaladdham pasitum vanlitum varang Sariputtadi terana nagatang patipatiyam Saddha silang yavasam buddha buddhang namaham. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Everyone said I have the name. Everyone said I have the
May everyone attain